Hi, welcome back to the installation of Hadoop. In our previous video, we have seen how to install Hadoop on a pseudomode cluster. In this video, we'll be seeing how to configure your Hadoop cluster so that your pseudomode cluster will be up and running. Yeah. So till this moment, till this particular point, we have installed Hadoop. Now we got to do something like configure our Hadoop. In order to configure your Hadoop, first thing you got to do is you got to export your Hadoop home as well as Java home in your .bash rc file. .bash rc is like a profile setter for individual user. Okay, what I'll do is something like vi.bash rc. I'll open this file and then I'll set my Hadoop home as well as Java home. See here, I've set my Hadoop home here using which is my user lib Hadoop, and I have set my Java home which is my user local JDK 1.6.0.330. Yeah. So what is the use of it is something which I'm gonna explain. See here, I have something like a requirement where I got to use something like Hadoop home. So I don't need to type something like user lib Hadoop or something. I'll use something like Hadoop underscore home. Yeah. When I use Hadoop underscore home, I'll get my path because I have exported in my .bash rc file. This is specific to each user who is logging into your Ubuntu. Next, once I am done with my exporting of your Java home and Hadoop home, what I'll do is I'll go to something called user lib Hadoop conf path. Okay, so when I go to this path, user lib Hadoop conf path, I'll have something like Hadoop-env.sh. So if Hadoop while running some ecosystem components or something, if it wants Java home, it don't need to refer to user local JDK 1.60 It will simply refer to something called Java underscore home, because we are exporting this Java underscore home in my Hadoop-env.sh. This is a pretty important script which will export all the variables that would be required for your Hadoop. Yeah. Pretty simple. .bash rc is for the individual file. Hadoop is for your Hadoop environment, which will be exported through Hadoop-env.sh. Okay. Now that I have exported all the required variables, now what I got to do is simple. I have 4 XML files. One is core-site.xml. Next thing is your hdfs-site.xml, and third thing is mappred-site.xml. I'm sorry, it's not 4, 3 XML files. Okay, so what are these 3 XML files, and why are we gonna put all these all these properties there? It's simple. If you have some default values configured already in Hadoop, if you wanted to override that, you'll use something called this -site.xmls. Core-default.xml is an XML with all the default settings. In order to override those default values, you'll use something called core-site.xml. In this core-site.xml, we are overriding a property for temp directory to user lib Hadoop temp path. Similarly, I wanted my file system name as localhost and the port number as 8020. So even that I am exporting in core-site.xml. So where will this core-site.xml will be present is in your user lib Hadoop conf path. You'll have your core-site.xml. If you are installing your Hadoop cluster for the first time, you'll have this core-site.xml as empty with something like this without. It would look something like this. So you got to copy paste these properties. As I discussed, this is for setting your temp directory, this is for setting your file system name, and you will create this particular temp directory path and give the permissions to this, which would be 750, and changing the owner from HDFS to Hadoop, so that your Hadoop group will be able to access this particular temp path when Hadoop is running your MapReduce jobs or something. So core-site.xml is basically to override the properties that are present in your core-default.xml. Similarly, we have something called, in this particular thing you will be configuring your core-site.xml. Once you copy, you'll have something like this. Yeah, and then similarly we have something like mapred-site.xml, which will have the properties. Yeah, so that are related to your map. Okay, I'll just explain about mapred-site.xml. Yeah, see here, I'm naming my job tracker. I'm changing the name of my job tracker to localhost 8021. And similarly, my mapred system directory would be mapred/system, and the local directory would be mapred/local. Okay, I'm just overriding this property. Similarly, my temp directory that my mapred uses would be mapred/temp. It might be some other path in your mapred-default.xml. In order to override that, I'm overriding those properties in my mapred-site.xml. So if your /mapred may not exist, so you're creating that, I'm giving the permissions and changing the owner of it. Okay, so this is one setting which we'll be doing in your mapred-site.xml. Yeah, see here, once after this I got to do once after this, what I got to do is I got to create this mapred directory, because that may or may not exist. Okay, because I have already created it, it is saying that it's already exists. If it is not existing, you got to create it and then change the permissions and change the owner as well. Yeah, so similarly I have something like hdfs-site.xml. Even here you are gonna replace the properties that are present in hdfs-default.xml, which are like DFS permissions, like file system permissions. I am setting it to false. I am not having any security as it's my sudo mode cluster. If you wanted to give some permissions, you got to set it as yes. Okay, and I have something like name node storage. All the name node related data will be stored here. That means the metadata will be stored here, and all those data nodes, the slaves, would be storing their data in storage/data. And replication factor, we know that default replication factor in Hadoop is 3. I'm overriding that particular factor to 1 because it's a pseudo mode cluster. I don't want my copies to be replicated to 3 factor, so I'm just taking as a single factor, which is like 1. Yeah, so that's it. I'm done with my configuration settings. I've explained all the configuration settings that we got to do for your sudo mode installation. Yeah, and then soon after the configuration settings, you got to format your name node. Yeah, for that you got to go to something like user lib hadoop bin. This is my path. Okay, and going here, I'll just format my name node with something like sudo -u hdfs hadoop name node -format. Yeah, this would format my name node and reorganize the structure of name node. Reformat the storage name. Yes, my name node has been formatted. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to run all my daemons, bring up all my daemons, because daemon is something which has to be brought up manually so that it will exist as soon as until your server is existing. I'm just bringing up all the servers one by one. Okay, so with this it will start my name node and then finally my secondary name node. It should bring up my secondary name node, and then I'm using something like I'm initializing all this init.d. It would do nothing, like it would initialize the daemons. Okay, and now I'm done with my secondary name node. Now I'm starting my job tracker, and then I would start my data node and then my task tracker. You got to do these things one by one. Okay, my data node is starting, and then finally my task tracker. So with this, your Hadoop cluster should be up and running. Okay, you have started all the daemons. Okay, so in order to check whether all the daemons are running or not, you can use something like netstat -pt len. It would give you all the port numbers. So if you could see here, 50070 would be a port number for your name node, 50030 would be your job tracker, and 50060 would be for your task tracker. If you are able to find this, and if you see here 8020, which is the port number for your local file system, so all the ports are open, which shows that your Hadoop cluster is up and running with all the daemons. Okay, so this is how you install your Hadoop cluster in your sudo mode. Okay, and you can use this reference document, okay, which we'll be uploading in this website, so that you can use this as a reference and install your Hadoop cluster on your own and start working on Hadoop. Hope this helps you to set up your own cluster. Thank you so much guys for watching this video, and bye bye.